Hello. Here we are going to address a question asked on the BMC community. How to send a Java object, an object to the backend, but not a simple one, not a simple JSON like this one, but a more complex one, um, like an object which has as attribute a list inside of it. So what is a trick to do that? So on the UI it's very easy to send it, but how do we receive it on the backend? And the simplest way possible, so without having to parse JSON manually and setting everything. So let's see how we can do that. So for this example, I created on the backend a not object, which is very simple. It has two strings, attributes, and I have a ticket object. This ticket object has a string attribute and then not list, which is an array, a list of not objects. So here what I'm doing is I created a post method, and on the post method we are sending a JSON, and the JSON is this one. So what you can see is that it's a record type, event. So it's a string. It has a not list. Inside the not list I send 10 nots, and then I have a title. So this is what I send. And the post REST API is very simple. It just sends back exactly the same object that we sent to it. It just modifies the title just to be sure that we actually did something. So on the UI it's pretty simple. I have one REST API that is a get to get a specific not. So for something for the get, I'm just sending a parameter, not 001, and it's sending me a not object with the title. It doesn't create any record or anything. Same thing with a ticket. I'm calling a get REST API with a parameter, which is sending back a ticket with simply the title. The title is the same as the get parameter. So how is it working on the UI? Here I'm just sending the ticket payload. On the UI, as soon as the page loads, I'm calling this method, and this method is doing three things. I want to call one REST API that is a get not, another one get ticket, and I want to create a ticket passing this payload, which is here. And I think it's the first one I show it inside an example, but I'm using AngularJS $q.all. So what it does is I want to display data on this page. So this is a answer from the get not. This is the answer from a get ticket. This is a payload. And here is the answer from the post. So I want to display everything in one go. One thing I didn't want was to chain the promises, like, oh, I want to get this get REST API, then once I get the result, I want to get then the get ticket, then once I got it, I want to call create ticket, then I'm doing something. So AngularJS provides to you $q.all, and mostly what it does is you can have declare like objects, get node, get ticket, create ticket, pass a promise, and simply do a dot then. So what it does is that it sends everything to the web browser, and when all the REST API are resolved, it will come back. So that's a good thing. It's much easier, the code is much cleaner, and you are sure that in this then you are only here when everything is ready for you to use. So once you here, for example, we have get not. So how to get access to the data? You simply have to do like data dot get not, data dot get ticket, data dot create ticket. The plain is to use to remove some information from the REST API, because when the REST API comes back, it does not only have your data, it has some AngularJS objects as well, information. For example, I don't know, like getting headers or things like this. Things you are not interested in. We are only interested with the not object, the ticket object. So using .plain is going to remove everything that is AngularJS to and this way we have only our data we are interested in. So here I'm getting get node data, get ticket data, get create ticket data, and you can see here the directive HTML is very easy. I'm using Rx simple JSON editor, which is a BMC object, to just display a JSON. Like to prettify a JSON, because JSON is a string in one line. So this is going simply to prettify it, so you will have something like that. But basically the model, so the data is a get node data, get ticket data, create ticket payload, and create ticket data, which are here in the scope. So I created a resource object like we saw in the previous video. And this resource object is actually two of them, one for the REST URL, one for the get, one for the ticket, another one I'm going to use for something else. So this resource object I'm going to use for the get node and get ticket, and this one I created a specific one for the post, because it's a bit different. The format is a bit different. So I think this is also the first time I'm using rxstring. So rxstring is a utility we provide, which allows you, for example, to create strings. So rather than doing com_example.restURL plus code /code plus ticket, so concatenation, you can just use %s/%s, and the rxstring format is going to replace the first one by the first parameter and the second one by the second parameter, and so on. So we use that actually internally a lot. It makes your code a bit less prone to errors, because you know exactly what the string is going to look like. So I have one that will be com_example sample library REST ticket, and another one that is going to be com_example, so exactly the same value, /ticket. And you can see that for the get node I'm getting this resource, and I'm appending to this link, I'm appending /node and the node ID. And for the get ticket is the same thing. I'm going to append REST ticket /ticket /ticket ID. For the post I wanted to do like a separate resource, and here I'm sending simply the payload that is coming from here. Scope create payload, which is this one. So on the UI it's pretty simple, pretty standard. So let's see how it works on the backend. So on the backend you can see that I have a couple of Java objects. I have not. As you can see, we have record type and title, so you can find them back. Once again, it's very important to use JSON property decorators for Jackson to automatically map your object, your Java object, from and to JSON. So I have a simple toString when I'm hardcoding to node, and a title, a setter for title. So I have a ticket, and ticket is the one we are interested with, because the ticket has two strings, but he has also a list of nodes. So this is what we saw here. In node list you have an array. So that's exactly what's here. So for the set, you just have to do set node list, and the type of the input will be a list of nodes. So nothing special here. And you set node list to the list of nodes. So the tricky part is in the REST API. So let's see, REST ticket. So we have first a get REST API to get a specific node ID. So like I said, I just instantiate one node and I just change the title with the node ID parameter. I do the same thing exactly for the ticket. The only thing is I'm creating 10 nodes. I'm adding the 10 nodes to my ticket, and I'm sending back the ticket with the ticket ID. So here is the interesting part. So how do you send to your REST API, to your post REST API, the object, a ticket object. So the ticket object means that you have so record type, we have a title, but we have a note list, which is an array of notes. And as you can see here, I'm not doing anything special. So I'm not getting some JSON and I'm just parsing the JSON. I'm not doing anything. Here, I'm just saying, well, I'm expecting a ticket object from my post call. Then I'm using this ticket object. So I create a new one, a new ticket object. I'm assigning my new ticket object to whatever I received from the post. I'm modifying the title and I'm sending it back. So that's what happened here. As you can see here, I sent ID 011 and I have exactly the same object comes from the post. So how it works, we send a JSON, so we send this to the backend. So it's a string, it's a JSON. And automatically Jackson knows that it consumes some JSON and it mapped this to a ticket object. So the ticket object is described here. So that's why it's very important to use the JSON property, because that's Jackson is going to say, okay, let me do my best. You're sending me some information. You're sending me a note list. You described what was the type of the object, and you say that this should be mapped. So I'm going to try and map it for you. So it's going to take the JSON and it's going to cast it inside the ticket Java object. So that's how the magic works. You have to send exactly the same object, and the only thing you need to do is simply to use the JSON property decorator in your class and in your both classes. So this is a ticket class, and because you are using note, you want to use decorators in this one as well. So that's the only thing you need to do. So in a couple of lines, you got your class, your object is ready to use, and you can do whatever you want with it.